The Chosen People is sponsored by NetWell. Healthcare costs are rising, and it can feel overwhelming. But at NetWell, we believe there's a better way. Imagine being the part of a community, a family where people just like you share medical expenses. With NetWell, you get affordable care without the burden of surprise bills or sky-high premiums. We're more than traditional healthcare sharing. We offer access to trusted providers, telemedicine, dental, and mental health services. Your well-being is our priority, and we're here for you like family. Join the NetWell family today at netwell.com. Affordable care, trusted community, your health, your way.
Previously on The Chosen People.
Behold, I would destroy them with the earth. I would bring a flood to wipe this earth clean.
Remember me. Remember my family and the animals with me.
God hadn't forgotten Noah. The Creator remembered him and all the beasts within the ark.
Go out from the ark, Noah. As a sign of my covenant with you, I have set my bow in the clouds.
The never-ending pattern of sin and struggle didn't cease with the flood. Cup after cup, Noah drank away his sorrows, yet it only numbed the pain. His youngest son, Ham, watched from a distance, disdain etched on his face as he witnessed his father's shameful display.
I present to you the honorable, the stoic, and the righteous Noah, naked and sleeping in his own vomit!
Ham, you've disgraced our father.
Cursed be Canaan for what his father has done.
Shut up, old man.
Men's sins stretched alongside Noah's descendants, but God's promises remained. His faithfulness wouldn't waver, even in the face of human imperfection.
Pride has a way of blinding us, of making us think that we're invincible. We start to believe we don't need anyone, not even God. But in our pursuit of greatness, we often lose sight of what truly matters. We forget that our worth isn't in our achievements or in the name we make for ourselves. Rather, it's in the name given to us by God. Shalom, my friends, from here in the Holy Land of Israel. I'm Yael Eckstein with International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. This is The Chosen People. In each episode, we escape into the world of the Hebrew Bible, exploring stories of faith, failure, love, and loss. As we press into the story of Israel, we'll discover what it means to live a life of purpose and step into the calling that God has for each of us. God chose the nation of Israel on Mount Sinai, but through their story, we will discover one abiding truth, that we are all chosen for something great. If you're interested in discovering more about the incredible work that God is doing through the fellowship, I invite you to visit our website at ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org. Now, let's begin. In the beginning, when the earth was young, humanity had one voice and one vision. It was a world where everybody spoke the same language, where every word uttered was understood by all. But what becomes of humanity when we raise our collective voice not in worship, but in selfish ambition? Before us stands the story of the Tower of Babel and the tale of divine intervention, where language itself becomes a tool to humble the proud. Listen now, and let the wisdom of this story guide us in our own quest for meaning.
Cybersecurity Awareness Month is still going strong, and LifeLock is here with a message about phishing. That's phishing with a PH. The scams cybercriminals use to trick victims into allowing access to their devices so they can steal their personal information. Being aware of potential phishing scams is one way to help protect your personal information. Because phishing scams are getting harder and harder to spot on your own, LifeLock can help. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal information and fixes identity theft issues that arise, guaranteed. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second and detects and alerts you to a wide range of threats, well beyond what you can see on your own. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will fix it guaranteed or your money back. Plus, you're backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package with up to $3 million in coverage. Start protecting your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/iHeart. That's LifeLock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I know, right? I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
Oh, no, I meant those blackout motorized shades. MVP of the room.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. Even you could do it.
Nice.
I installed these and then got some for my mom, too.
What, you fly across the country to do the install?
Nope. Blinds.com can do it all. All she had to do was pick what she wanted. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Look at you, a Hall of Fame son.
Oh, I just picked the winning team. They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Oh, Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 45% off select styles and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Save up to 45% at Blinds.com. Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The Pope is dead.
From Focus Features comes the electrifying new film, Conclave.
We're about to choose the most famous man in the world.
Based on the international best-selling thriller.
The Pope discovered something before he died.
Ralph Fiennes, Stanley Tucci.
Ambition becomes corruption.
John Lithgow and Isabella Rossellini.
We sisters have eyes and ears.
Top critics are raving. Conclave is hands down the best picture of the year.
I had to find the truth.
Conclave, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters October 25th.
The sons of Noah spread across the land, hands stretching out to seize the promise God gave them. Japheth sired many sons, whose clans became the people of the coastlands. They were voyagers, fishermen, and tradesmen of great renown. Their influence stretched beyond the seas to lands untouched. The sons of Shem scaled the hill country of the east. They were people of the promise, just as God had foretold. From his line would come Terah, the father of Abraham. Yet the sons of Ham were cursed with ambition. His sons were Canaan, Egypt, Put, and Cush. Out of the line of Cush came a man unlike any other, a man of strength, influence, and power. His name was Nimrod. Nimrod stood atop the hill, a silhouette against the dying light of the sun. The air was thick with the scent of earth and blood, the spoils of his latest hunt arrayed around him. His cloak, fashioned from the pelts of lions, billowed in the evening breeze. To his people, he was not just a man. He was a legend, a giant among mortals, a hunter favored by the Creator. As the last rays of sunlight bled out of the sky, Nimrod descended from the hill with the carcass of a stag carried over his shoulders. His eyes, sharp and piercing as an eagle's, scanned the crowd at the bottom. They looked upon him with awe and reverence, whispers of his name rippling through the assembly like a prayer. The whispers rose like a song, eventually becoming a chant, singing his glory. The great hunter's gaze fell upon the carcass of a stag, its antlers spanning wide, a testament to its once proud stature. Nimrod's hand rested on its flank, his fingers brushing against the coarse fur.
Tonight we feast, we honor the life taken, and we give thanks to the Creator for his bounty.
He watched as his men began to prepare the feast, the crackle of firewood and the savory scent of roasting meat filling the air. Nimrod turned away, his mind already drifting to thoughts of the hunt to come. He craved another challenge in the wilds of Shinar. For Nimrod, the hunt was more than a means of survival. It was a test, a sacred rite that affirmed his dominance over nature and man alike. His camp was a sprawling expanse of tents and makeshift shelters filled with warriors and craftsmen, women and children. It was a kingdom in its infancy, a realm forged from blood and sweat under the rule of a man who feared nothing. As he walked through the camp, his people parted before him, their eyes shining with admiration. Nimrod's presence was a promise of protection and prosperity. In his tent, lit by the flickering light of torches, Nimrod sat before a map of his domain. It was drawn from charcoal on parchment, crafted from tanned pelts. The parchment was marked with symbols and drawings, a record of his conquests and the cities he had founded: Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh. His kingdom was growing, and with it, his power. Yet Nimrod's ambitions stretched further still. He envisioned a city like no other, a monument to his greatness, a testament to human ingenuity and divine favor. A shadow fell across the entrance of his tent. Nimrod looked up to see one of his trusted servants, a man named Elam, standing there with a grim expression.
My lord, the scouts have returned. There are whispers of dissent among some of the tribes.
What's the matter?
Your bow is mighty, Lord Nimrod, and your arrow strong, but its reach wanes in the borderlands. Some tribal elders seek to make a name for themselves by stretching further out. They want to scatter, as the descendants of Japheth and Shem have.
Troubling.
It was the divine mandate passed from the forefathers, was it not? We are meant to stretch outward and fill the earth.
Yes, but that isn't how greatness is achieved, Elam. Greatness is built brick by brick, stone by stone, on top of one another. If we spread and disperse, we weaken what we've built here. Prey scatter outward, but the predators gather together.
Would you like me to send more men to the borderlands to impose your will?
No, that would be short-sighted. Why use force against each other when we can use force for each other? These people dissent because they want to be significant. They don't want to live in my shadow. But what if I could somehow manufacture greatness for them? What if I could give them the feeling of greatness under my rule?
Are you suggesting you give up some of your power and divide it among the elders?
Oh, no, sweet Elam. I don't need to relinquish freedom or power. I need to rally them under an ideology, a cause that gives them a sense of significance. But it will all be under my rule.
Will you build a temple?
Nimrod rose to his feet, his stature imposing, even in the confines of the tent. He opened the flap of his tent and looked up, gazing at the night sky. The stars scattered like diamonds across the velvet darkness.
Not a temple. Temples are for gods. We are men. We will build a tower.
Nimrod turned to his friend and grabbed his shoulders. His massive hands nearly wrapped around his entire back. He shook him enthusiastically.
I have been blessed by God with the strength and the will to lead. I will lead them to greatness. Upward we will ascend. People want to scatter abroad for greatness. They want to go into the unknown and venture out. No, true greatness is found above. We will build a city so great, so large, that it reaches the heavens.
I can begin preparations. We can consolidate the tribes and bring them closer together. Of all your kingdoms, where shall this tower be? Where will the people gather?
Nimrod looked back at Elam with a glint in his eye. His mind was set, his path clear. He would build his tower, and it would reach the heavens. In doing so, he would carve his name into the annals of history, a name spoken with reverence and fear for generations to come. For Nimrod, the mighty hunter, was more than a man. He was a force of nature, a king among kings, destined to leave his mark on the world. And nothing, not even the will of God, would stand in his way.
Bring them to Babel.
Nimrod's dreams were turned to stone and stacked upon each other. His kingdom rose from the plains of Shinar. The city he founded was a marvel of architecture and ambition, its walls high and strong and streets bustling with life. Babel, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, these were the jewels of his realm, each a testament to his vision and might. Yet, for all their splendor, they were but the beginning of Nimrod's grand design. In the heart of Babel, Nimrod stood atop a balcony overlooking his city. Below, the streets teemed with people, merchants hawking their wares, craftsmen plying their trades, children playing and laughing. It was a city alive with energy and purpose, a city that bore the mark of its king. Nimrod's gaze was steady, his expression one of pride and determination. This was his creation, his legacy, and he would see it flourish. Elam interrupted his gaze.
My lord, the council is assembled. They await your command.
Nimrod nodded, his eyes lingering on the city for a moment longer before he turned and strode inside. The council chamber was a grand hall. Furs from Nimrod's hunts laced the ground. The pelts of bears, lions, and wolves draped over his throne centered at the head of a large table. Beside the table sat the leaders of Shinar, men who had sworn fealty to Nimrod and shared in his vision for the kingdom.
Welcome. Friends, our kingdom thrives, but there is still much to be done. The cities we have built are merely stepping stones to our ultimate goal. A city that will be the envy of the world. A tower that will touch the heavens.
Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. Nimrod's ambitions were well known, and his charisma had won him the loyalty of even the most skeptical among them. Yet, as he spoke, a note of caution crept into a few voices.
My lord, there are whispers of unrest among some of the tribes. They fear that our ambition may bring the wrath of God upon us.
Haven't you heard the songs? I am Nimrod, the hunter who stands before God. He is the one who has blessed us with this land and this power. It is our duty to use it to its fullest. We will build this tower, and in doing so, we will show the world that the people of Babel and the entire region of Shinar are not to be trifled with.
The tower is how we reach God. The tower is how we reach greatness.
Perhaps together we can reach paradise again. Maybe we could be like God himself.
The council members nodded. Nimrod's words had a way of dispelling doubts, of igniting a fire in the hearts of his followers. He was a leader unlike any other, a man whose vision extended beyond the horizon, whose will could bend even the most obstinate to his cause. In the days that followed, Nimrod's vision began to take shape. Plans were drawn, resources gathered, and work on the tower commenced. The people of Babel toiled day and night, their efforts guided by the hand of their king. The tower rose steadily, its base broad and robust, its height a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. Yet, for all the progress made, some harbored doubts. Among them was Javan, a builder of great skill and wisdom who had been tasked with overseeing the construction. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Javan approached Nimrod, his expression troubled.
My lord, I fear our ambition may be our undoing. Some speak of omens. God may not look kindly upon our attempt to reach the heavens.
It is God who has given us the strength and the will to achieve greatness. We honor him by striving for the impossible and pushing the boundaries of what is known and possible. Fear not, Javan. We are destined for glory.
Javan nodded, though the worry did not leave his eyes. As he departed, Nimrod watched him go, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his mind. He pushed it aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. The tower would be built, and it would stand as a monument to his reign, a symbol of the indomitable spirit of Shinar. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The tower rose higher and higher, its shadow stretching long across the plains. The people of Babel looked upon it with a mixture of awe and pride, their faith in Nimrod unshaken. For in their king, they saw a man who could turn dreams into reality and lead them to unimagined heights. And so, under the watchful eye of Nimrod, the Tower of Babel continued to rise. Fires burned in the heart of Babel, casting long shadows that danced across the half-built tower. Nimrod stood on a platform high above the ground, surveying the work below. The structure was a marvel, its base, broad and solid, climbing steadily toward the sky. Every stone laid, every brick set, was a step closer to his vision. Below, people were chanting and singing. A smile curled on the edges of Nimrod's face. It was working. They had made the tower a religion in itself. They wouldn't dream of leaving it or leaving him. They would remain, because their greatness was tethered to the tower. Nimrod turned to his gathered advisors, their faces illuminated by the flickering light. They were his most trusted lieutenants, the pillars upon which he built his kingdom. Yet, even in their eyes, he could see the flicker of doubt. Javan stepped forward, his eyes earnest.
My lord, the tower's design is sound. The higher we go, the more challenging it becomes. The weight, materials, and labor pose a new set of challenges. We must be cautious.
Caution has its place, Javan, but this is not a time for fear. It is a time for boldness. We will face these challenges and overcome them, just as we have overcome all others.
The days that followed were a blur of activity. The people of Babel worked tirelessly, driven by their desire to be part of something greater than themselves. Yet, as the tower grew, so did the whispers of dissent. Some questioned the wisdom of such an undertaking, fearing the wrath of the Elohim. Others worried about the strain it placed on resources and labor. Nimrod heard these whispers, but paid them no heed. He had come too far, sacrificed too much to be swayed by fear and doubt. One night, as the stars shone brightly above, Nimrod found himself alone at the base of the tower. He placed his hand on the cool stone, feeling the pulse of the dream that lived within it. The tower was more than a monument. It was his legacy, a mark that would endure long after he was gone. A figure approached, and Nimrod turned to see Javan standing there, his expression thoughtful.
My lord, I have seen many wonders in my time, but this tower, this is something beyond anything I ever imagined.
It is the work of our many hands, Javan, but it is also the work of one vision, a vision that we share.
Javan looked up at the tower, his eyes reflecting the firelight.
Do you ever fear, my lord, that we are reaching too high? That God might take offense?
Nimrod's smile faded, his expression turning solemn.
I have heard this exhausted warning too many times. Has the Elohim not given us the earth, the sky, and the strength to build, to dream? If we do not use these gifts, if we do not strive for greatness, then we dishonor him. This tower is not an affront, it is an offering.
Javan nodded slowly, his doubts not entirely dispelled. Nimrod sensed his trepidation. Irritated, the king continued his pontificating.
And why should I fear him anyways? Did he not flood the earth? Did he not curse my grandfather Ham? If he doesn't accept my offering, then maybe I shall build my tower even higher. Higher than him. Maybe then it is he who will fear me.
Nimrod's voice reverberated through the empty stone halls. Javan said nothing. Together they stood silently, gazing up at the tower that reached ever closer to the heavens.
The Pope is dead.
From Focus Features comes the electrifying new film, Conclave.
We're about to choose the most famous man in the world.
Based on the international best-selling thriller.
The Pope discovered something before he died.
Rafe Fiennes, Stanley Tucci.
Ambition becomes corruption.
John Lithgow and Isabella Rossellini.
We sisters have eyes and ears.
Top critics are raving. Conclave is hands down the best picture of the year.
I had to find the truth.
Conclave, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters October 25th.
With over 1 million copies sold, best-selling author Paul David Tripp's New Morning Mercies engages Christian readers with compelling gospel-centered thoughts, followed by extended meditations. This daily devotional gives readers hope and encouragement to rely on God's goodness and grace in day-to-day living. Pick up a copy of New Morning Mercies wherever books are sold, or save 30% with a Crossway Plus account at crossway.org/plus. That's crossway.org/plus.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Dawn broke, casting a golden light over the plains of Shinar. Babel awoke to the sound of hammers, chisels, and stone being set upon stone. Nimrod watched them with pride, his heart swelling with the knowledge that they were building something that would endure, something that would be remembered for generations to come. As the day wore on, the heat grew oppressive. The sun beat down mercilessly on the workers, sweat pouring from their brows as they toiled under the watchful eyes of the overseers. Nimrod's presence was a constant, his shadow falling over every aspect of the project. He was a man possessed, driven by a vision that consumed him. The sounds of construction filled the air. Hammers and chisels rang out in a symphony of labor, mingling with the shouts of foremen and the grunts of workers. Nimrod moved among them, his presence a constant reminder of the stakes. He spoke with the masons, offering words of encouragement and, when necessary, stern rebukes. His people needed to see that their king was as invested in this endeavor as they were. In the midst of the chaos, a cry went up. Nimrod turned to see a group of workers gather around a fallen scaffold, a man pinned beneath the wreckage. He strode over, his expression grim.
What happened here?
The supports gave way, my lord. It was an accident.
There are no accidents, only failures of preparation and vigilance. Ensure that that man receives the care he needs, and see to it that the supports are reinforced properly. We cannot afford any more mistakes.
Yes, my lord. It will be done.
Javan came out from among them, eyes intense with anger.
I told you that something like this might happen. It will continue if we don't relent.
We will only relent when I stand atop my tower looking out at the world like it's an apple fitting in the palm of my hand.
Nimrod gestured to the crowd, charisma dripping from him like sweat.
Are the people of Babel cowards? Will you shrink back at the first sign of weakness? Will you scatter and scurry like prey? Or will you gather and build like predators? We will make a name for ourselves. We will be great. We will build something to rival Eden.
The crowd cheered, but Javan slunk back into the rubble, helping the fallen workers to their feet. The Lord God saw Babel. The tower rose brick by brick, reaching toward the heavens, a monument to human pride and unity. But the people of Babel were sorrowfully mistaken. No earthly structure could pierce the divine realm, the celestial plains where the Almighty dwelled. These realms existed beyond the mortal coil, destined to one day reside in the hearts of those who trusted in Him. Seeing the path to their doom, the council of God convened to thwart their endeavors.
They are one people, unified in language, and yet unified to destruction. This is only the beginning of what they will do. Soon, they will have the power to do whatever their heart desires, and nothing will be impossible.
God knew men's hearts. He knew that their plans ultimately led to their demise, so He crafted a plan of His own.
Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. The words used to unite them under an impure cause will become confusing to them. They shall be the city of Babel, chaos.
The sky above Babel darkened with the approach of a summer storm. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a low and ominous growl that seemed to echo the unease growing among the people of Shinar. Nimrod stood atop the incomplete tower, his eyes scanning the horizon. The wind whipped his cloak around him, but he stood unmoved, a statue of unyielding resolve. Elam approached the balcony, worry etched on his brow.
My lord, there are omens we cannot ignore. The storm is but one. The oracles speak of divine displeasure. People fear that we have angered the Elohim.
Nimrod snarled as he looked out at the incoming storm, his face scrunched with a contemptuous scowl.
Yeah, he's threatened by us. He's worried that we will become too great for him to control. He is right to fear me.
Nimrod turned to Elam, his gaze piercing.
The people need to see strength, not fear.
As Elam departed, Nimrod's eyes returned to the horizon. The storm clouds gathered thick and black, reflecting the turmoil within his kingdom. He clenched his fists, feeling the weight of his vision pressing down on him. He could not afford to falter now. The tower must rise. As the storm raged on, Nimrod ascended the tower once more, standing defiant against the elements. Lightning flashed, illuminating the dark sky, and thunder cracked like the voice of an angry god. Yet Nimrod stood firm, a solitary figure against the wrath of nature. The rains descended like arrows. They beat against Nimrod's broad shoulders. His eyes glowed in the lightning, reflecting an ancient evil, like the serpent of old.
I can be like God!
The king shouted downward at some of the remaining workers. His voice bellowed like the thunder above.
Get Javan! Gather all the able-bodied men in the city. Today we build this tower in defiance of the Creator. Today we seize greatness for ourselves.
Nimrod laughed at the heavens. When Javan arrived, Nimrod commanded for the furnaces to be lit.
More bricks, Javan! More mortar! We will not be dispersed. We will be one city, one utopia, one monument to human greatness.
Javan peered up at Nimrod, then down at the foundation of the tower. The rains eroded some of the mortar, the winds shifting the scaffolding at the top. Javan's eyes widened in alarm. Nimrod was courting disaster. He had to act before it was too late. Turning to Elam, he shouted,
Elam! Nimrod nazamo! Nanu sadel mesla!
Elam stared at Javan with confusion. Perhaps Javan was suffering from an illness. He cocked his head to the side and responded with concern.
Yavan, Malik Sma, Antasahin, Halasta, Abrabalakase.
The two men stared blankly at each other, unsure what they heard. They couldn't understand each other.
La'ana avmaka! Walakan nanulazi Nimrod gabel and Yafna and Zaban!
Mayatari?
Javan couldn't play any more guessing games. Shoving Elam aside, he sprinted up the tower steps. The rain-slicked steps slid under his feet, but he pressed on, finally reaching Nimrod. The king thrashed atop the tower, raising his fists in defiance. Javan reached out a hand and shouted,
Nimrod! Inzel! Yesava! Satan Zalik!
What's the matter, Javan? Has fear stolen your tongue? Come and bask in the glory of our creation!
Nimrod looked down. Below, confusion reigned. People shoved each other, panic setting in. Nimrod turned to Javan, but before he could speak, a brick slipped from beneath his feet. Nimrod fell back, catching himself on the scaffolding. It bent to his weight, then snapped. Javan stepped forward, but it was too late. Nimrod plummeted, his screams muted by the thundering skies. Nimrod struck the earth, unseen in the chaos. God had confused their language. People trusted only those they could understand, forming tribes and leaving Babel to seek peace elsewhere. Thus, the tribes of the ancient world grew beyond the shadow of their utopia. God's command to fill the earth was fulfilled through the diversity of language and thought. Nimrod's body lay beneath the tower's shadow. Slowly, the elements claimed the stones, and the sands of time covered its greatness. It returned to dust, the destiny of every man since the Great Fall.
The Pope is dead.
From Focus Features comes the electrifying new film, Conclave.
We're about to choose the most famous man in the world.
Based on the international best-selling thriller.
The Pope discovered something before he died.
Rafe Fiennes, Stanley Tucci.
Ambition becomes corruption.
John Lithgow and Isabella Rossellini.
We sisters have eyes and ears.
Top critics are raving. Conclave is hands down the best picture of the year.
I had to find the truth.
Conclave, rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters October 25th.
Seeking to understand the Bible in a deeper way? With over 1 million copies sold, the ESV Study Bible is a valuable resource for readers, students, and teachers of God's Word. The ESV Study Bible was created by a team of 95 scholars from nearly 20 denominations and contains vibrant maps, clear timelines, and extensive study notes. Pick up a copy wherever books are sold, or save 30% with a Crossway Plus account at crossway.org/plus. That's crossway.org/plus.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash.
Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Tower of Babel is one of those stories that makes you scratch your head and wonder what on earth is going on. A bunch of people decide to build a tower that reaches to the heavens. They're unified, speaking the same language, working together towards a common goal. And then God comes down, witnesses what they're doing, and decides to scatter them all over the earth, confusing their language so these once unified people can't understand each other anymore. But why would God do this? Is he against progress? You see, this story isn't about human advancement. No, it's about humanity trying to assert its independence from God, to create a name for themselves, which is apart from him. Does that sound familiar? Our ancient tradition, which reads between the lines of the biblical text, gives a shocking picture of what the human beings who built the Tower of Babel had become. While the people were building, one interpretation suggests if a man fell down and died, no attention was paid to him. But if one brick fell down, they would sit and weep and say, "Woe unto us! When will another brick be hauled up in its place?" Well, doesn't this sound a lot like our modern society? Don't we sometimes think and talk and care more about technology than about other people? Don't we sometimes worry more about what's wrong with our phone than what's wrong with the world or our neighbor and how we can help fix it? Here at the fellowship, which I am so privileged to lead, we try to think about people all the time, what their needs are and how we can help them. Sure, we use most advanced technology to help us do that, but it's people first, technology afterwards. When our world asked, we never stop seeing the individual. We use technology to help us help people, not the other way around. When our world asks, what's more important, a person or a brick? We need to answer a person every single time. Maybe this story isn't just about why God scattered humanity at Babel. Maybe the question we should be asking is, why do we keep trying to build our own towers even today? Why do we try to get farther away from God instead of closer to Him? Why do we try to be more independent from God? And what would it look like to stop, to humble ourselves, and to let God build something far greater in us than through us? The lesson of this story is not that we should squash progress, no, but that we must address the heart behind it. Is progress really progress if it leads us away from God? Instead of asking, is God against progress, maybe we should ask, what kind of progress is reaching closer to God and is better for man? The answer to that guides us even today. This brings us to a deeper layer of the story, the theology of divine judgment and mercy. God's actions at Babel weren't merely punitive. They were also an act of mercy to prevent greater harm. By scattering humanity and confusing its language, God was stepping in to stop a trajectory that could lead to widespread corruption and evil. God didn't want a repeat of the flood of Noah. So at Babel, He intervened in a different way. Rather than allowing humanity to reach that same level of corruption in the times of Noah that we saw, He dispersed them. He broke up their unity to curb their potential for widespread evil. God's judgment here was a protective measure. He did it out of love, not out of penalizing them. Our ancient teaching explains it this way. The people's plan was to build a monument that would be seen from many miles around. They wanted to settle together and decided to remain within view of the tower, that they would never stray from it. They decided that anyone who strayed too far from this new metropolis would have the tower to guide them back. But of course, this meant that the king of that city would also be the king over all the people in the world, because everyone lived in his kingdom. This wasn't God's plan, since He created us to settle the world, all of it, and to make it a better place, to be a light in the darkness, to spread justice and love, to spread values. This is something that each of us must try to do every day wherever we are. And we do it in a way that follows the moral ideas of the Bible. This means that there would be no king of the world ever, except for God. The tower's plan was uniformity, but God created all of us, and God appreciates humanity's multiplicity, range, and variety. He wants each of us to come with our own heart, our own background, our own story, our own challenges, our own way of worship, but to all come to Him. We have to believe that God loves us with all of our faults, as long as we come with our authentic, pure hearts, and that we're always looking to do better and repent. What we see in this story of Babel is God's scattering of the people as an act of mercy. It's a reminder that God's judgment and His mercy often go hand in hand. His actions may seem harsh, but they are rooted in His desire to protect us. Our God is a God who judges, but he is also a God who loves, who shows mercy, who prevents disasters of our own making by disrupting our prideful pursuits. You see, the story of Babel doesn't end in the Hebrew Bible. It actually continues on in the Christian Bible. So to speak more on this is our good friend, Bishop Lanier.
Thank you, Yael. I want to look at something that's really quite consequential to our faith, found in Genesis 11, the Tower of Babel. Isn't that the strangest sounding thing? The Tower of Confusion, or chaos, this Tower of Babbling. Well, you know from the Christian scriptures that our God is not the author of confusion. Oh, but I'm so grateful. He will often use confusion against your enemies. How many times do we read that those who assailed against the chosen ones, assaulted, determined to destroy, would wake up in the middle of the night totally dumbfounded, grab their swords, not knowing who they were or where they were, and all of a sudden would wipe one another out? This confusion, this chaos. Well, what's this story about? I would call it the first convening of the United Nations, this globalist confederation of peoples determined to penetrate the heavens without God building this tower, if you will. Well, you know in your Bible that lion piece of snake convinced Adam and Eve that if they would partake of that tree, that fruit, well, they would become like God. Only problem was they were already created in the image of God, in his likeness. And now we've got these peoples who are determined to bypass the sovereignty of our one God, his supremacy, and to somehow make their own name great, according to verse 4. Make their own name great, not God's. It's interesting to me when I just skip real quick here in my Bible at chapter 12, God has a conversation not with those 70 nations, but with one man, and says, through you, all the nations of the world will be blessed, and I, God, will make your name great. Well, they tried to erect this thing, and God saw what was happening. He was offended by their corporate pride, but was impressed by their unity, and realized, knew, and said so that nothing would be withheld from them by the power of their unity and their words of agreement. And so he cast them into confusion, into chaos. He canceled their common language, so they couldn't understand one another anymore and conspire against God. We get to chapter 12, and God's determined to impregnate the earth with a person, a people, through whom ultimately Moshiach, Messiah, to Christians, Christ would come, and for Christians, through whom the church would be birthed and the kingdom of God manifest. Can I pray with you right now? Almighty God, I thank you for the people who are listening. All of us are witnesses to schemes and plans, strategies of the enemy to confuse, bewilder, to deceive. But I'm just declaring, by God, that this profound discernment will be in your people, and they'll know exactly what the enemy's doing, and even more, what you planned for us. And for all this we give you praise.
With the story of Babel in mind, let's turn inward and ask a deep, introspective question. How do we see God's hand of mercy in situations that initially seem like judgment or punishment? In those moments when life feels like it's falling apart, when our plans are disrupted, when our towers come crashing down, could it be that God is at work showing us mercy even in the midst of what feels like judgment? Think about the times when you face setbacks, disappointments, or even suffering. Could it be that, like Babel, God has intervened to prevent greater harm? Have there been moments in your own life where God's intervention, though difficult to understand at the time, was ultimately for your own good? Maybe it was a job that didn't work out, only to lead to a better opportunity. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, making way for a deeper, healthier connection. Maybe it was a plan that fell apart, only to redirect you to a path that brought you closer to Him. Reflect on those moments. Sometimes it's revealed and sometimes it's hidden, but when it's revealed, we can see God's mercy in it. We can recognize that His hand is at work even when it feels like He is judging. We have to trust in God when it's easy and when it's hard, when we see the clarity and when we don't understand. So today, let's ask ourselves, each of us, where have I seen God's mercy in disguise? Remember, the God who scattered the people at Babel is the same God who leads us today, and He is guiding you towards His better plans, even if you can't see it right now. You need to trust in God that He's got you. He knows the plans, and they are good. So hold on, keep the faith, and know that God has a plan for each of us, a plan for something even better. As you think and pray on what God's better plan is for you, I leave you with the priestly blessing from number 6, a blessing my own Abba, my own Father, would share with me and my sisters and bless on us, and I continue to cherish it to this day. Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Hashem panav elecha v'yechunecha, Yisa Hashem panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you. May the Lord be gracious to you. And may the Lord turn His face towards you and give you shalom, give you peace. With blessings from the Holy Land, this is Yael Eckstein, and you are listening to The Chosen People.
You can listen to The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein ad-free by downloading and subscribing to the pray.com app today. This pray.com production is only made possible by our dedicated team of creative talents. Steve Gattina, Max Bard, Zach Schellewager, and Ben Gammon are the executive producers of The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein, edited by Alberto Avila, narrated by Paul Coltofianu. Characters are voiced by Jonathan Cotton, Aaron Salvato, Sarah Seltz, Mike Reagan, Stephen Ringwald, Sylvia Zaradoc, and the opening prayer is voiced by John Moore. Music by Andrew Morgan Smith. Written by Bree Roseley and Aaron Salvato. Special thanks to Bishop Paul Lanier, Caleb Burrows, Jocelyn Fuller, and the team at International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. You can hear more Pray.com productions on the Pray.com app, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. If you enjoyed The Chosen People with Yael Eckstein, please rate and leave a review.
CBS Thursday.
Hi again.
TV's quirkiest crime solver.
I'm Elsbeth Tassioni. I work with the police.
Is back and ready to go toe-to-toe.
Yes.
With a cavalcade of guest stars.
You have a devious mind.
I'm a lawyer.
Don't miss a moment of the critically acclaimed hit.
Look for anything out of the ordinary.
That sounds like fun. Murder should be fun.
Obviously, murder's not fun.
Elsbeth is all new CBS Thursday at 10/9 Central and streaming on Paramount+.
The Heart of Jesus is a deep and profound exploration of Christ's boundless love. The Heart of Jesus, a simplified edition of Gentle and Lowly, takes readers into the depths of Christ's tender heart for sinners and sufferers. Small chapters are perfect for younger readers and busy families. Pick up a copy of The Heart of Jesus wherever books are sold, or save 30% with a Crossway Plus account at crossway.org/plus. That's crossway.org/plus.
I'm Victoria Cash. Thanks for calling the Lucky Land Hotline. If you feel like you do the same thing every day, press 1. If you're ready to have some serious fun for the chance to redeem some serious prizes, press 2. We heard you loud and clear. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com right now and play over 100 social casino-style games for free. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.